Good afternoon, evening,
Hello, hello. It is Friday at 6 p.m., and you are here at Courtside with Lawman,
and Carmen B.
and we are here to talk about issues that impact the criminal justice system, as well
Yes.
as other important issues to the public and to the community.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff tonight. We really want to talk about some normal things like voting, the recall election, mask, and what's going on in the Middle East. And we're going to
Yes,
specifically, though, get on what the title is all about, the long arm of the law, which is talking about technology and law enforcement.
but before we get too far, we would like to invite our viewers to comment in the chat. If you have questions, you can ask those questions in the chat. You can also call in to Courtside at 916 443 5288.
All right.
916 443 5288. The number is a little different than the usual number, but that is a technology issue. But again, that number to call in 916 443 5288. And again, you can always comment in the chat.
Yes, and we encourage you to do so as well as like us and bring people. And we have a great little conversations that go on here. So I believe that we have to tell you that we would love to answer any and all questions that you have. However, by doing so, doesn't create a attorney-client relationship between lawman or
Carmen B.
that's right.
So we are certainly willing to answer any questions that you ask related to the law, the criminal justice system, and anything that we might have some knowledge about.
Right.
But as Lawman stated, in doing that, it does not form an attorney-client relationship between either of us and the caller or the texter.
All right. So let's get started. So first thing I think we said that we were going to remind people of is to vote. Right. We've got a recall election that's going on right now. Individuals have called for it, and it's going to be important that people get out there and vote. And how we tell you where that starts is this: look, as long as you're not in prison or on parole, go register to vote. Tell all your friends, your family, everybody, register to vote. Because by doing so, you also make yourself eligible to serve on a jury, even if you had a felony. Okay? Laws have changed now. This voting is going to be very, very important. It always is. It's just that it seems to rise the next election. So get out there, register your cars, register to vote, become a more active citizen.
And when you go in and you get your identification from the Department of Motor Vehicles or your driver's license, you can register to vote at that time.
Yep.
You can register to vote at post offices, and of course, always at the county registrar's office. Even if you are registered, if you have not received your ballot for the upcoming recall election, you may want to go and check with the registrar and make sure that you are on the list so that you can vote. In California, we have a recall election for Governor Newsom. There are people who I believe were very disappointed and upset with him because of the way they believe he handled the pandemic. You may agree with him, you may disagree with him. We're not telling you how to vote, but we are telling you that we need you to be active and we need you to vote. If you're happy with him, you want to vote against him being recalled. Additionally, I believe, have you received your ballot yet?
I got it.
And I haven't. I've received mine. I have not looked at it. I believe that there are two issues. One is whether or not you want him to be recalled, and then no matter how you vote on that, if he is recalled, who you are voting for to replace him.
Right.
So those things are very, very important.
Right. Because if you do one without the other, your intent and what you want it to do may not be registered with the voting registrar.
Yes. So if you just say, well, I don't want him to be recalled, but you don't do the additional step of indicating in the unfortunate event, in my opinion, that he is recalled, you want to have a say in who takes his place.
Correct. Because I heard there was what 46 people running, something like that.
There's some large number, and I was last seeing that Larry Elder
Yeah,
was had a large number of support.
yeah,
Um, what I just want to stress, we don't want to vote for someone just because they are African American. You want to look at what are their policies, what policies do they have, and how are those policies going to be put into effect, and how are those policies going to impact your life and those of your neighbors and your fellow citizens and your loved ones. My understanding is that Mr. Elder is against there being any set minimum wage. Well, that would be a big concern for a lot of people who are minimum wage workers.
yeah. He actually, I think, on women's rights and things like that, he's very, very poor. He should probably go to Afghanistan right about now. That's where his feelings are. You know what I mean?
And join the Taliban, where
Hey,
yeah, women should be barefoot in the
and
kitchen and covered in a
you
burqa.
better not come outside, and yeah.
So
Which brings us to
that
sort
being
of
said,
yeah,
look at the policies. We don't advocate voting for someone just because that person looks like you. Um, we have someone on the Supreme Court who looks like us, but does not vote in ways that are productive for the African American community or
correct.
for the community
In
in general,
general,
in terms of the constitutional rights
exactly,
that we support, that
exactly,
are in our Constitution,
right.
where he has a very different view of those rights.
That's true. All right, Middle East. You mentioned Middle East.
Yes.
Lots of things going on over there. We're pulling out of Afghanistan and causing a lot of people to have opinions one way or the other about how it was done, and who want to be critical or just going to be critical about it. But it's something probably that the world is going to have to pay attention to and see exactly what occurs now. Now that Taliban might be taking over, you hear the stories that they want to be a little bit more friendlier Taliban, and they don't want to, come back and be the same as they were before, that they've evolved somehow. But the world's got to look at that really closely. And I think what's happened, what really we got to look at is who's supporting who in the future.
Yeah.
Where's China stands, where's Russia stands and stuff about this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were there from the beginning. So we can't believe that they're not there now, especially when, it looks like you have a country that you can literally probably take over, whoever, how superpower, in terms of providing money, advance, protection, things like that.
Yes.
So Middle East is blowing up, but so is America. And over these things, we're seeing fights, school board meetings, all kinds of city council meetings blowing up because people are mad at others who wear masks. Okay, they have to, because if they have to, they don't have to go to places that they have to wear it. But they're mad at other people.
I don't understand. I would say I have a friend that is a nurse, and I started wearing the N95 mask, which is like the one that you have on now, and I have a newfound respect for the medical care providers that are having to wear these, wearing it for, and they don't work, 4 hour
8 hours,
shifts
right?
or even 8 hour shifts. They
That's 12.
usually work 12, nurses work 12-hour shifts.
Yep.
And if they can do it, everyone else can do it.
Right. And they're on the front lines here. They're meeting they're meeting Rona every day.
Yeah, they're meeting COVID head on.
Head
They're the
on.
ones that will take care of your loved one if
That's
your
right.
loved one ends up in the hospital.
So I think all we could do is encourage everybody to wear your mask and do not be violent to others because they may not want to or they want to.
And if you don't want to wear it, then don't go to places where it is required.
Right.
Stay home.
Right. I mean,
stay in the comfort of your home.
it's sort of like the no shoes, no service.
But it's more than that, because of the possibility that you could pass something on that is deadly to someone else. And you may say, well, I don't want to wear a mask because I don't have any symptoms. I don't feel sick. but you still could have it.
It's true.
And I think now we're what, a year and a half into this.
Yes, we are.
As citizens, we should care enough about each other
Yep.
to put the mask on if we're going out places where we're going to be around other people.
And what I mean by that is that you have restaurants now who, if you don't wear a shirt, you can't come in. I mean, you have restrictions already on dress codes and things like
Well,
that.
there's restrictions in
So,
everyday life.
yeah,
Again, we made the analysis to the seatbelt,
yeah,
right? If
of
you
course,
don't wear the seatbelt, and the
right,
only person who's going to mainly be injured by you not wearing your seatbelt is you
you,
getting into an accident and flying out of that car.
right. So,
But you put that seatbelt on, and if you don't, you get a ticket for
yeah,
not having it on. So this isn't about your
constitutional
constitutional
rights.
freedom.
Yeah,
And part of living in a civilized society is caring for the others
others.
in that society,
That's right.
and you limit some of your rights
Right.
in order to
For
care
the
for
good of all, right?
yes.
Isn't that the whole philosophy of it all? The tribal knowledge is everybody. I succeed, everybody succeeds. So, you know, cut it out. All right. So now back to the criminal justice system. Okay. First though, well, we'll do it at the end, the probation and stuff. All right.
Okay.
But here we go. I've had an interesting experience this week because my phone went out last Sunday. And what I mean went out, meaning in the middle of a conversation, SIM card just apparently died. And I Googled and said, why would a SIM card die? And it said, well, you could be hacked. Now, I didn't think I would be, but of course I call AT&T and they tell me, well, you can get a new SIM card, going down, pay some money, bam. I do that. Put the SIM card in, but now it doesn't work. So now they tell me I have to get a new phone. So I go, well, wow, that's funny. Why would my SIM card go out and then just the whole phone go out? Right? I mean, because
Yeah.
I was getting internet and emails, but as long as I can get Wi-Fi. But that went out when I got the new SIM card. So I got the phone, and what uh what was making me, I guess, feeling something was that the phone went out in the middle of a conversation whereby I was sort of criticizing law enforcement in a way, and there was a individual I'm talking to was also working in law and doing such a thing, and I was espousing some of my theories about law enforcement and how they behave and how they operate and how we may have to start doing things about it. How can we as citizens do things about it? And that's when the phone went out. So I was thinking, okay, somebody's done this. This is not just a coincidence.
Well, wasn't there at one time the device that they were using, the
Ah,
Stingray?
Stingray. So it made me think about technology, and law enforcement and stuff like that. And to think that, people can listen to conversations, they can wiretap. It's just they can't use it. So they can do things. And that's where the Stingray came in. It was a fake cell tower device that they would use to collect calls that come through and divert calls and things like that. And it was ruled at least illegal after they've used it for a minute because they always use it first. And then all of a sudden, because somebody has to write a discovery letter and say, I want the information about this. How did you find that out?
Mm-hmm.
And then in comes this new technology. But so Stingray was tough, but it's gone. And then I think the next thing in line would have been ShotSpotter. Now, ShotSpotter, great idea, actually. I mean, what it does is if a gunshot goes off, these microphones that are put in a neighborhood will hear it, measure where it's at, and they can pinpoint at least an area whereby that shot went off. I've seen it in a few cases. I mean, it works. That thing really works. I mean, you could hear very well. It's just that they can't put it everywhere, so they put it where they believe.
Well, they put
They'll
it
get
in
something.
neighborhoods where they believe
Yeah,
supposedly there is a greater likelihood of gun
gunplay.
violence.
Yes. So ShotSpotters, I like ShotSpotter. The technology seems to be working really well. And the beautiful thing about ShotSpotter is it does not do anything in terms of identifying a person. It doesn't do that at all. You know, which
No, but it,
which
it,
yeah,
it it does bring them to the area fairly quickly,
yeah,
and they're going to contact people and cars that are in that area.
yeah.
But as Lawman indicated, it does not identify the person, but there is something that does.
It does. Oh, now look, sheepdog. Got a quick question right quick.
Oh, yes, sheepdog protector.
It's a
If the
yeah.
police ask for your SIM card from your GoPro in your car, do you have to give it to them?
No, no. Now, GoPro in the car, SIM card in the phone, things like that. Now, phones, they have to write a search warrant for it to get into your phone. So you should always like leave a lock on and stuff. So it makes it much harder. Yeah.
Yes, you should have a code
Code.
so
Yes.
that it's no one can just come up and utilize your phone.
Right.
Um,
Now the GoPro, your SIM card would be more of a memory thing, I think. To where it's just going to be collecting all of everything it saw.
yes. Now, I suppose if law enforcement were arresting someone, they could confiscate the GoPro
Right.
as potential evidence.
Right.
If they believe it was possibly used to record something. And believe it or not, sometimes people record themselves doing some of the most ridiculous things that you
What?
could imagine.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Are you saying I'm going to commit a crime and I'm going to record it?
Not you, lawman. You would never do such a thing. But yes, there are. Um, I think a lot of times it's young people. They're not thinking. They're thinking that it's cool
Instagram.
to do. That it's going to make them
Yeah.
popular. That they will get hits and views and that sort of thing.
Yep.
And they will basically record themselves doing something that will then be used against them.
And the short answer is no, because they would have to do a search of the car in order to do so. So you would not comply at all. So yeah. But back to that, yes. Kids, tell all kids, stay the hell off of Instagram and all those things trying to show your car.
Now, Mr. State, you know that the kids, the young folks, are not going to stay off the Instagram, the Snapchat, the Facebook, the TikTok.
I know, and other hidden softwares where I didn't know you can have software where you can have a secret conversation and everything just disappears later. Amazing stuff these children come up with.
Is that not the Snapchat?
No, there are other apps and stuff.
But there are additional ones. But
yes,
Snapchat
but
does that as well.
does it as well, right? Sure. So back to
what you have to know though is, despite the fact that there, these applications where you believe that things are deleted or that they disappear, there is usually always some kind of a trail.
Yes, a wayback machine they call it. It'll record way back. Really, and it's taken from Peabody and remember the Bullwinkle and stuff like that, where they had a wayback machine that would take them in the past and stuff. And what that machine does is it allows law enforcement to go and no matter what was recorded, they can get far back the records.
Now, one of the things that we're seeing now is everybody has one, a face. And so we are seeing the use of facial recognition technology. Now, I know that I have heard that there have been a lot of errors when that system, that application is being used to identify African Americans. Now, I'm not quite sure why that is, but that is and can be a problem. Now, right now, how I have seen it being used here locally in Sacramento is, and this brings us back to social media, law enforcement taking photographs from social media and then using the facial recognition software to determine who those people are. So, for example, let's say they may know who one person is in a video, but they don't know the other 6 guys that are in the video with him. They will take a still shot from that video, run it through the facial recognition software, and see if they can identify those other individuals.
Well, who are they comparing it to?
How is the system comparing it?
Yeah.
The officer himself is not comparing it. It
Right.
is the application that is comparing it.
So
Now,
the
I believe that it is comparing it to people who are already in the criminal justice system. So
mugshots and things.
mugshots, but I don't think it's
DMV too, maybe.
but I don't think it's limited to that. Yeah,
Right.
I would say mugshots. I would say DMV, and
Okay.
then also remember sometimes when they're doing the field contacts, they take photographs of people.
That's
So
true.
you're stopped in the field, you're not arrested, but the officer identifies you and
Right.
takes a picture of you. I think that happens a lot to
Yep.
younger people.
Yep. Now you would figure those pictures got to be readily uploaded to a database. Now, and I can see where mugshots and DMV are much easier to run by because they use the mugshots for the 6-packs and other things.
Well,
So
the issue is right now we don't know
right.
what all sources they are using for the application to do the comparisons.
Because what if I never had a mugshot?
But you have,
but yeah,
but you have
it
a
matches me up.
DMV,
You're
or
right, or some,
you have
right.
a driver's license, or you have identification,
or
or you have
something.
none of
Yes.
those things. But again, we're a society at this point
Yeah.
where we're constantly taking pictures of ourselves and posting it out there for the world to see.
Right.
So I would not be shocked nor surprised if they're identifying it from social media as well. And people think because when they use social media, they use a fake name, right, or a made up name or some moniker that law enforcement can't figure out who they are. They can by nature of your contacts, right?
Yeah.
If I go on your Facebook or your social media and I see that you've listed
Yeah.
this person as your mother and this person as your sister and this, I can figure out who you are.
That's true. Yeah. So they claim now. See, I question though. I mean, well, what database are you running it off of? Because if you're right, if I never drive, don't have an ID, now that'd be impossible. But if you didn't, and if you don't have a mugshot,
well, you're getting something. What's the one thing you used to do in school all the time, every year, sometimes twice a year?
Graduate.
Even so,
right. but take
well,
pictures. Yeah. All right.
Yes. Photographs.
I didn't graduate every year.
You took pictures every year for the photographs that were going to go in the yearbook. True. And that was for every single grade.
So they would
kindergarten
have to wait a minute.
Up.
They would have to take all these yearbooks, upload photos, and I guess you can get on the web and get them, can't you?
Are you saying that that's impossible?
I'm not saying, because I think you could probably type some things in the computer and probably pull up a yearbook from Skokie High School in some year or something.
Yes.
And maybe it's just any pictures on the internet or anywhere.
Sheepdog Protector said, Facebook always gets me and my kids mixed up in the tags. Yeah, if you and your children look substantially alike, that certainly could occur.
Yeah. That's right.
Because Facebook is using that facial recognition.
Right, to do the tags. Yes.
Now, here's what we don't know as a society. Facial recognition has been out there, and it was being used and has been being used for a substantial time period. I know at least 2 years ago or slightly more, I would go into my bank and I'm walking up to the teller and she says, "Hello, Miss Butler." Now, this happened to me not only at my local branch, but at other branches where I knew they did not know me. And so how were they doing that? I hadn't done a transaction. I hadn't provided any ID. I hadn't put my card in. I discovered that the banks were using facial recognition.
If I was a bank, that's a good idea for them. I guess, they've already hooked you up. You come in and you're going to rob the bank. They already it's Bill. It's Bill. That's who it is. Wow. See, and I guess this technology, the problem becomes just it's not a fingerprint. Like fingerprint technology, they'll tell you that we all have different ones and stuff, right? And that no one person's is like the other. And scientifically, they can show that. But facial recognition, if I look like my brother, I'm going down. I mean, right? I mean, how much more, what kind of things would you be looking for?
And if I can think of several people, to give an example, Michael Jordan and his father. Now, his father is deceased. But if Michael Jordan and his father looked so much alike,
right?
So much alike that I could see this software mistaking one for the other.
Well,
Now,
yes. Go ahead, please.
now, lawman, you know what? There's some people out there and they're saying, well, why are you worried about facial recognition software if you're not committing crimes?
Well, you know
I don't
what?
have anything to worry about if I'm not committing crimes.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you're not committing crimes. I don't commit any crimes, I think. And so facial recognition, heck, is probably pretty good. I mean, look, if you're not out there doing anything, then it's not going to match you up. Come on.
That is not true.
Well,
That is not
we're
true.
talking technology here,
We
though.
know that the same mistaken identification that can occur from a witness misidentifying somebody can happen with this facial recognition technology. So this is why you should care, even though you're not out there committing crimes.
But
Because we're hearing every single every day you hear a story about someone who was wrongfully convicted. So you, your child, your niece, your nephew, your cousin, your sister, your brother could be that person who's wrongfully accused and who's wrongfully convicted. So this is why you care about these types of technology, even if you are not committing crimes.
but look,
We do have, go ahead.
okay. Well, yeah. But here's the thing, though. Wait, they look close to a person who has committed a crime, right? Now, don't you think the cops would use other items and other things like circumstantial evidence to show that it is the person?
Oh, I don't know if we talked about this. I think we may have, but I want to.
But they
That's the problem with circumstantial evidence is that it can be wrong. And I think in past shows we've mentioned, and I've had it in my
trials. I know.
in my 20 plus years of practice have had cases where my client was innocent, but the circumstantial evidence looked like they pointed in their direction
Yeah.
as having been the person who committed the crime. And in those instances, but for specific pieces of evidence, some of which could have been gone,
But
we were able to show that they didn't do it. But think about the number of people where that didn't happen.
But think about this, though. Come on. I mean, if all you have is the facial recognition software and it alone cannot ID you, just like your words alone, all right, cannot convict you, right? So if you have that, then the cops must have something more. And if it is circumstantial evidence, isn't circumstantial evidence just as strong as direct evidence? And that it should be used to prove a fact? So, yeah, we can jump and leap and all that, but guess what? It also is scientific fact, too. Right? I mean,
So we do have some comments in the chat. Let's go to those. Zen Mobway says, I'm going off the grid, landline maybe. No, you can't search my property, officer. Right. But Big Brother is smart. Knowing our rights and being able to stand on them does curb the attacks of overseers.
Yes.
Sheepdog Protector says this is another good reason to wear a mask. Into LOL in terms of the facial recognition. Right. And again, not because you're doing something wrong, because there are cases of mistaken identity, and it can occur with this facial recognition as well. Zimbabwe says artificial intelligence is reality. Smart, they say. But again, it's only as smart as the humans that make it at this point, right?
And how we program something.
And we have a comment from Maya S. Algorithm.
Yes, using
what mathematical
algorithm.
What is the best way to protect your information?
Okay. Well, we're gonna get to that stuff. So obviously, I don't believe in facial recognition. Okay.
What do you mean by you don't believe in it?
Well, look, there are instances that are going on now, and the ACLU is following case after case of where Black people and Asian people are being misidentified 100 times more than white people. Now, that brings up something we were talking about.
And you're talking about by this
facial recognition. There are horror stories that are occurring because the problem with it is they're going to come to you ready to arrest you. And they're going to come in full force. And when they do that, and you know you didn't do something, you're probably going to protest. But if you watch me, and you listen to us and stuff like that, you're gonna know what to do.
And what do?
They should say, "Am I free to go?" And if the cop says you're free to go, you go. If the cop says no, we're arresting you, then you go along and just say you want a lawyer. That's all you say, all the way down, all the way around the corner. I want my lawyer. I want my lawyer. They'll have you as a gift letter. I want my lawyer. I want my lawyer.
That
Thank
is
goodness.
your only response to
That's
any
it.
additional questions.
And you don't consent to searching anything at all. So always protect yourself with that first. Now, but I'm still mad, right? Because I gotta waste a day going to jail or something like that. But you should always realize this. The science behind this, we don't even know. We don't know what it's based in and why. Think about if you're an inventor of this type of software. You could create this software to create,
reflect the prejudices of society.
You probably could. And I will just take Asian individuals as an example because I don't want to use us. But people can see more with that. Of course, there are different shades of Asia. From India, Cambodia, there's a different shades of Asia. But
China, Japan.
Exactly. But there is one kind of a thing that rolls through that, and that is color, is a little off, and size of face and eyes and things. So they can, if I wanted to, have that sucker just identify anybody. I would not have my technology as strong. I would have it stop at eyes and this, and all I need is a similar shape, something that looks like another person.
Is it possible that you could set that system up so it is more likely to identify people who have
or
more
misidentify people
yes. who have more of a certain type of a feature?
Yes.
We have some comments in the chat. From Maya S. Did we answer that?
Yeah,
you said we'll come back to that.
Well, okay. Protect yourself. Yeah.
From Warren Mack, people also borrow your pictures to use as their own on multiple apps and accounts. That is true. There is a lot of identity theft or photo identity theft that goes on the internet, especially in terms of the whole catfishing phenomenon. So people will adopt one person's picture. They may attach their name to it.
Shoot it out around.
Yes, and they're communicating with people as if that is their actual true name, or that may be their true name, but as if that photograph is actually them, when that photograph is actually someone else.
That'd be fun. I mean, it wouldn't be funny, but you could see how, my goodness, if that person commits a crime, and that's the photo that the person has of them, and because they didn't make a great ID, oh my goodness. But the problem becomes, yes, it could be the way it's programmed could be targeting individuals like us, like Asians, you see, things like that. We don't even know about what goes into it right now. Now, of course, what's happening and you see it all the time now. I mean, ACLU is getting involved because of it. People are being falsely arrested. And then there's okay, sorry, goodbye. Sorry. But it can, even 18 hours, 20 hours can disrupt your life. And your children might have to watch this go down.
You can lose your job.
It'll just be traumatizing.
If you're arrested and you're taken into custody, it is more than just an inconvenience.
Right.
We have another comment from Sheepdog Protector. The technology does work. That is why do not wear Jordan shoes or Nikes at all, or Timberland shoes. Now, I think what Sheepdog Protector is indicating is that
chips, right? Or something,
I don't think he's saying there's chips in those. I think that he's saying those are a particular type of shoes that are worn by a certain group of people at a high level, and it may be doing recognition other than just facial recognition.
Got you. Yes, I mean.
So in other words, I saw there was a comedian who said that what he used was a cardigan. He used a cardigan as basically his protection. And what he meant by that was he tried to appear as nerdy as possible so that law enforcement would not think that he was, the
guy who did it
that they're looking for.
Interesting.
I think that falls along those same sort of lines.
It does. And is it real? And legally now, okay? Legally, if that happened and I was arrested, and that's really what they have as an ID, Of course, your lawyer should make a challenge with under Kelly Fry, just two cases, that this technology is not acceptable by other scientists. It's not readily used as a scientific tool, and people don't believe in it. It's not, the people in that area say, hey, I'm skeptical about it. I don't truly buy it. I understand it, but I don't truly buy it.
And by people in that area, you mean the scientists?
Yes.
Yes.
In the scientific community.
And so
it would be challenged by a motion.
Yes, and I right now don't think that that they're, at least in Sacramento, how they're using it.
Yeah.
I don't think that they plan on testifying specifically to it, but they're using it as an investigative tool. And you need to be aware of that fact. Law enforcement is just as active on social media as
a 14-year-old,
except they're using it for investigative purposes.
Right.
They're using it to find out who your friends are, who you're regularly communicating with.
Kind of meetings you go to.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and the worst part is it's 100 times in error with Black people. Of course, we already contact police officers a little too much every day.
Do we contact them, or they contact us?
We seem to be the contactees.
Yes, there you go.
And so this just increases the ability that that's going to happen. And when she says an investigative tool, it would be that, okay, we used it, now we got this guy, we can look at him and see if he's doing something.
If there's anything else that we can find to connect him up.
And you may not know at all that this is happening, and you got some little this and that going on, and boom, now, hey.
But if you have a case that or you have a relative that has a case where facial recognition is involved, certainly the attorney should be looking at trying to exclude any testimony about that.
Right, definitely. I mean, that's a must.
And that brings us to another technology tool that we've talked about in the past, I believe, briefly, and that is the license plate readers.
Yes, these cameras. Well, tell them what it does.
So the license plate readers are placed throughout the city, particularly in California, but certainly other places as well. And it reads the license plates of vehicles. And so they can narrow down, they know what intersection certain vehicles have passed through. In addition to that, it actually takes a picture of the license plate. Now, you tell me this: if it's taking a picture of the license plate, you don't think it's capable of taking a picture of the driver?
Oh, well, they do. The red light cameras do that.
Yes, they do.
Oh, and that's where I think technology all came flowing in together.
Yes, but in addition to red light cameras, you have to know that there are tools out here that are being used that we don't even know about.
Right.
That we don't know. And when I say we, I'm talking about us as American citizens, don't know all of the capabilities of these tools. So the license plate reader that can give me a clear photograph of the license plate, which is lower than the driver's face, you have to believe it also can photograph the driver's face. In addition, there are, they call them camera pods that are at intersections. And those for sure take pictures and videos of those locations. And I've seen those in cases that I've had.
A couple of them in Oak Park, I know. So, I've seen that video. But, but back to the license plate versus the red light camera. At least the red light camera doesn't kick off until you run the red light or do something. So it's used specifically for that. But the license plate reader works in a way that if I wanted to know where you've been and you're driving your car around that day, I can trace you.
Yes. So not only can you trace a car by its license plate, you can search by make and model. So they may not know the license plate of the car that they're looking for, but they know that it's Acura SUV.
Silver.
They can search. They don't even have to. They don't have to limit it to color. But they can search Acura SUVs, and they can search a particular. They can list the search parameters a particular
time
area.
and everything, yeah, and say whether an Acura SUV went through an intersection or went through this street or light or
So we have
yeah.
another comment. Sheepdog protector, I think, is clarifying. We asked
Ah.
we as black people need to stop wearing the same outfit. It's not just based on your face, and I
Yeah.
think again that was the point
Yeah, the
that
Jordans.
Sheepdog
Yes.
protector was making in terms of the types of shoes that they're looking for a certain
True.
type of dress. From Mayette S, it says, "Can the police use drones for identifying?"
All right.
I'm going to say they could certainly use the drone to take a video or a photograph of someone, and then they could
Yes.
use that information to run it through this application
Right.
for that facial recognition.
Exactly. And they do use and drones. Okay. I mean that wasn't on the list, but
that's another.
that's coming.
Yes.
I mean, drones can do a lot of policing, so to speak. I mean, you know, they can go out and hover for a while.
Yeah, the
I
officer
mean,
doesn't even have to be
there,
within sight to send that drone
yeah.
to an area and just watch what's going on in that particular area.
Yeah.
We have another comment from CC Badger. We spend way more tax money to incriminate
us.
Okay, they spend way more tax money to incriminate us than to make this world peaceful. That is true. That is true. And that brings us to, oh, that's right. That's right. There was a bill in the United States Senate to take federal funding away from cities that reduced law enforcement spending. And I think this goes directly to the point that CC Badger made, because the budgets that are given to law enforcement are so large. Sometimes they are 60 to 70% of a city's budget. Imagine if just a portion of that money was utilized for services to for
mental health services,
services, school program services, events and services for teenagers, to stop them or give them something to do.
Right. I mean, it's almost funny because that would be the right thing to do. You would think that nobody would have a problem with that. And even if it wasn't my race that benefits from it, you would think a person would not have a problem with spending their money that way.
But and the reason I think that you would think that they shouldn't have a problem is the better we are as citizens, the better we are all together.
Right. So,
if you don't want this kid over here who is poor stealing from you, why not devote resources that will help him to get a job?
Right. All right.
When I say kid, I consider anybody 18 to 25 is still a kid to me.
Old and stuff.
It's still a kid to me.
But definitely, so giving them a hope, giving them a better education, you know, doing the things that will help all of you.
Yes.
You would think that would be the moniker. You would think that would be the just stamped on every wall, you know. But
that if we want to be a better society, we have to try and make it better for all of us.
Right. All of us are not.
And CC Badger followed up, used for education and mental health. Yes. And so that we can have mental health services that respond to issues that require mental health help, rather than law enforcement officers who go in bogarting and not understanding that the person can't comply because they're suffering a mental breakdown.
That is always a losing situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a losing situation. And it's funny, we will not spend the money on those things. But it's all in our leadership and why we should vote, and why we should pay attention to who's leading us all the time.
And what they are doing.
That's right.
With our money.
What they didn't say, watch them in the back house. And then when they're in the back of the house, how they act, right?
Zimbabwe said they are still letting segments of our people here, and where you find us slay each other. Is shot spotter technology a plus or a detriment to the people that never invented weapons of mass destruction? Well, that's probably not a question that we're going to be able to answer in the limited time period that we have. Um, of course, if someone is opposed to you, they're not going to stop you from killing each other. In fact, they're going to sow that division. So that is why in reports, I will see an officer who has contacted someone who is affiliated with a particular neighborhood, that is affiliated with a particular social group. Good. And that officer will try and antagonize that person by mentioning the social group from the other side of town.
Right. I know.
So he can get a response. I've had cops who are interviewing someone who is affiliated with the blood social group. And then they will ask them, oh, well, do you listen to the music by, what's that?
We'll make someone up, though.
Yeah.
But little shorty.
Yes, someone from who represents the other group.
Who said something about your dead homie.
So he can get a response out of that kid, so that he then can document that kid as a member of a gang.
And also maybe create something. I mean, come on, to say that, hey, these guys over here, we just stopped them the other day. Hey, they're talking a lot of shit about you guys.
Yeah.
Man. They're saying they whoop you guys' ass in a fight. They do this and do that. They can come on your place anytime. You better not walk in their place.
And it's sowing that division. Yeah. And we have to stop allowing that to happen. Yeah, and I don't have all the answers as to how to reach the young people that we need to reach, because there have been a lot of young people within the last year and a half that have been killed in Sacramento. And it needs to stop.
Right. And then the war is going on right now, basically, on our streets.
Yeah. So there's a war that we're seeing overseas in Afghanistan, but there's also a war here at home. And I think part of it is this level of hopelessness that these young people have when you're from a class of people who are mainly wealthless. Now, we have another comment. Maya S., a lot of these officers need mental help. I believe that to be true. That there should be more psychological testing of these officers, and there should be follow-up psychological testing.
All right, I got an idea. I got one. Check this out. That goes along with that. Now, look where they come from. Look who they really grab. It's primarily individuals who spent 3, 4, maybe 6, 7 years in the military. No, there are a lot of ex-military.
Oh, yes. For law enforcement, that does happen. But there are plenty others who have never been. But wait. Let me let you go on.
Hear my logic out now. So you have extremely disciplined people. They're just disciplined.
But they've been trained to kill.
But trained to kill. Exactly. Been trained to be part of a team.
And to view the other side as the enemy. And you can kill. You can kill your enemy.
In fact, we will give you medals if you do that shit a lot. So you have these guys, these warriors, these people who become then law enforcement officers. And the first thing they know is, hey, this is how things work. Yeah, this is how things work out here on this street. The war here is that neighborhood, this neighborhood. They're keeping you from keeping your kids going to college and stuff. So we need that mentality that you start with, you see, and so they're right and ready to be tough, have that teamwork, that never give up on your blue line thing, and I mean, it's the same attitude. So mental health, dig it. Well, individuals like that, what do we know? They're suffering from PTSD maybe or something like that.
Yeah.
It ain't like every soldier goes and gets help and says anything about it. Some people may take it out in other things that they do, you see. So if that's where their pool is, and it is their pool, well, what kind of mentality are you going to get on the street? And what kind of individuals who now can shoot weapons and do things and drag people down and be rewarded for it still. And now they're rewarded monetarily. In the army, you ain't made nothing. But and you can become a cop, and your kids are gonna go to college, and you're gonna retire with a
Well,
home and
wait,
all that.
I gotta stop you there. What did you say about the military? Because the military pays pretty good.
Hey, no, military raised my family. I mean, I'm not saying there's nothing bad about it, but when you go from that, when you spend just 2 years, 3 years, you see what I'm saying? Just enough, and then you go from that to being a first responder hero on the street, because now you're a hero in two different venues. You're a double hero, and your attitude, your ego. You remember that teamwork? We're brothers in arms and stuff, and the enemy is these people. There's a great rap song we have to play for you one day about the gangs one. Yeah, where this white guy. All right, it's a brilliant song. But anyway, talking about that. Yes, those are people who do need probably mental health care, psychological evaluations of the yin, because they come from that environment. So just like young African Americans who come from that environment, it is very similar. You both have PTSD, and you're meeting on the streets of America. Have it out, and we don't own those streets. That's my problem. Not even our streets. So what makes sense? And that she said, we take any money away to even train them in mental health and stuff. Take a little money and put it over there instead of buying a few more cars or a bulldozer or something. And they'll protest. Legislators will now what? Write legislation to punish a city for thinking that way?
For saying, wait a minute, why are we spending so much money
and we're killing
this agency? And a lot of times, if there's an audit done, what you find out is that there's been a lot of fraud in terms of excess overtime for officers,
paying off sexual harassment lawsuits.
Well, that too,
and shooting excessive force lawsuits, which is money that sits in the bank that I think like the insurance company, you let it gain enough interest. Some things you let go. So, all right, but back to the big question when you circle back to the mental part of this, and we're in a space, I would say, where we're talking about things that are logical and reasonable, but yet we may be called these leftist, socialist liberals who want to just defund the police.
I think that's true, and it's not, again, and perhaps I almost wish that they wouldn't have framed it as defund the police, because then what people took that
literally
and said, oh, they're going to take away police, and then there's just going to be crime rampant. Right. Nobody's going to be there to help you if something happens. It's just going to be complete chaos, and that is not at all what anyone meant. What we're saying is money from a city's budget can be used more productively.
Right. That's all.
Zimbabwe says, I think he's listing the name of a number of the rappers: Maserati, Lavish, Steez, Maserati, Nudie, Uzi, Tay, Slep Rock, Dr. Dre, a tribe of directly or partially related rappers and writers. A bunch of dudes living strong, but also by design being rewarded.
Yeah.
And again, I think what we talked about that is that, that a limited number of people are rewarded for lack of a better term, that lifestyle, which promotes it further to young people, but who are actually engaged in it and who are actually bleeding and dying on the streets when they get shot.
Definitely. I mean, I was looking at the BET feed, and they're talking about Pharrell's nephew shot, and this other person's rapper shot, and this person rapper shot. I'm going to that's every day in the magazine, and I know it covers America, but geez, okay, 1 or 2 is too much when it really comes down. But
just
to it.
in Sacramento alone, there have been
I know a lot of stuff going back and forth right now.
Yeah, young people killed for no reason.
Yeah, So yeah, we God, you get out of breath. You talk so much about things, but it's the righteous things, to do. I mean, that's why I tell you, if you can answer that question, why wouldn't people want to use the money in a better way? Why wouldn't they want to have economics to where it allocates something to everyone? Why wouldn't you want to when we're all one community?
And again, that's not saying that no one works for what they're getting,
Yeah.
but we know and that we have to come to grips with this society and what has transpired
Historically,
historically
exactly.
in terms of redlining, in
Right.
terms of wealth suppression, in
That's right.
terms of wealth destruction.
That's right. I mean, the part of me says, you know what? If in fact you think slavery was just back then and all that kind of stuff, well, then you defended slavery. Then you saying that it was an okay thing to do. Eye for an eye, two for a tooth. You know what? Why don't you suffer 400 years? Let's see how it comes out. Let's see how you feel. See? But you can't do that. And that's the worst part of their logic is they're saying, look how you came out. Look how you look now. But you go, well, wait a minute. Why don't you suffer that? And tell me that it was all worth it.
And again, as we have to say, and we shouldn't, it didn't stop with slavery.
Right.
It didn't stop with slavery. And so certain different types of oppression continue.
Right.
And we're also in a different society. There was a time period where you could graduate from high school or even not graduate, and you could get a job in a factory and you could make a decent living and take care of your family.
That's right.
That is no longer really the case.
That's right. You can have two people working.
You have to be trained in technology. And so
inheritance.
And there has to be something that gives you hope that you can get out of the station that you were born into.
Right. And we're not, and it doesn't have to be extreme.
And that attack is continuing.
Continuing.
So again, we are going to remind you that the recall election is coming up. We hope that you have received your ballot, review your ballot carefully, vote. Turn your ballot in. You can mail it back in. You don't have to be inconvenienced by at least in California. You can mail your ballot. You can mail your ballot back in. You can drop it off at the registrars, but we need you to vote.
Make an opinion. We need you to express your opinions about things.
And then we're running short on time, but we wanted to remind everyone again in California about the new laws relating to probation, the Assembly Bill 1950. And that bill reduces probation in most general felonies to 2 years, meaning if you were placed on a 5-year grant of probation and you are now in that 3rd year of probation, you can get that probation completely terminated, which means usually that will stop you being subject to searches.
It will be gone.
Yes.
So,
and if you don't do that, you put yourself in the risk of being in a situation where you're pulled over and you're on probation, so we can search.
Yes.
And then if they find something, whether it's yours or someone else's in the car, and they charge you with it, it still stands because you were still on that grant of probation.
Right.
Because we as a people are disproportionately on probation, especially our young men, we want you to get off probation. Contact.
Have conversations. I mean, this is stuff that should be brought up in church.
Yes.
Okay. I mean,
but
really.
Contact lawman at your office.
916-443-5600.
Or Carmen B at 916-443-5288. We want to help you get off those grants of probation so that you can get your life back on track and continue living with all the rights of a normal United States citizen.
And this is a major thing, all right? Because if you just want to do numbers and say that 3/5 of us may be on probation at any time, and yet I don't like it either. Okay, but I'm just saying, let's just say a whole bunch of us are on probation. This could actually reduce and take off an individual at any point in time, probably about a 30% level. At this year, 30% don't have to do it no more. This year, 30% don't have to do it no more. And it can be a devastating thing. You let it lapse and you're in your fourth year and something just happens or something.
Your friend gets in the
your
car
friend
and
has
your
something.
friend has a gun, and the cops go to pull you over, and your friend slides the gun under your seat and does not say that it is his.
And they
And
ask
then
you,
everybody lives by the code, so nobody in the car says whose gun it is. And law enforcement may take everybody in the car, or they may take just you and that
that's
person,
right,
or they may just take you because it was under your
your
seat.
seat.
And that search could have been avoided had you allowed
Not been
us
on
to
probation.
terminate
Yep.
that probation. So
Yeah.
let's get those probations terminated.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you know someone who is
Who
on
have
probation, have them
Just take a look
contact
at
us.
Yeah.
Again,
It's real easy.
916-443-5288.
916-443-5600.
Let's get our people off probation.
Yeah. And right now, immediate. You wait too late, it's too late. So take advantage of the laws. That's what we say. Take advantage of them, be aware of them, be conscious of them,
And watch
exercise
out for
them.
what
Yes.
are
Affecting
coming down,
you.
what
Yes.
laws are being presented that can
Yes.
affect you, the public, your community in a negative way.
So we had a lot of stuff to talk about today, Connor.
We did.
Woo!
We did.
And we appreciate everybody who's out there, and we gotta have more. Listen to this, play this for friends and stuff if you have to.
Get this information out.
Right. This is right now, it's free. So, and dig this, this is all about what we're talking about. Each one of us have to do our part. If you have a church congregation, really, and you can bring these things up when there are maybe 50, 60 people who may not be affected, but family members affected.
Niece, nephew, cousin, brother, sister,
neighbor, friends.
All right. We thank you again for spending another hour of a Friday evening with us here at Courtside with Lawman
and Carmen B.
Thank you.
Thank you.